Christian Wilkins is officially the most dangerous free agent in the NFL right now. But the truth behind why he's still jobless will leave you absolutely speechless. We are talking about a top-tier defensive interior force who just vanished from the league in 2025, and now the floodgates have opened with 2016's clawing at his doorstep. Is he a locker room savior or a ticking time bomb that could blow up a franchise from the inside? If you think you know the real reason the Raiders kicked him to the curb, think again, because what's coming out of the shadows right now changes everything for the Cleveland Browns and the entire AFC North. Before we dive into this absolute madness, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. The NFL landscape is shaking right now because the Christian Wilkins saga has taken a turn that nobody saw coming. We're talking about a guy who was supposed to be the anchor of a multi-million-dollar defense, and instead, he spent a year in the shadows. But the silence is over. According to the latest league-wide intel, Wilkins is fully prepared to lace up the cleats for the 2026 season. His agent is leaking word that the rehab on that devastating foot injury is finally hitting the home stretch. But here is the kicker. 26 different NFL organizations have already placed the call. They aren't just curious. They are waiting like vultures for the green light. You have to ask yourself, in a league this competitive, how does a guy with this much baggage have over 80% of the league begging for his services? The connection to Cleveland is impossible to ignore. We know how this front office operates. They don't just shop for talent. They hunt for elite defensive line depth like it's a biological necessity. Think about the history here. They brought in Olivier Vernon to bookend the line. They didn't blink when they used a high-value pick on Mason Graham. They went out and secured Malik Collins in a move that looked like a masterclass until disaster struck. This team is addicted to winning in the trenches. And seeing 26 teams in the mix basically guarantees the Browns are one of them. They're always looking for that next monster to put next to Myles Garrett, someone who makes it impossible for offensive coordinators to sleep at night. But is Wilkins the missing piece or a massive mistake? Wait until you hear the actual bizarre reason the Raiders decided to cut ties with a $100 million player. To understand why this is such a gamble, we have to look at the wreckage Wilkins left behind in Las Vegas. Back in 2024, he signed a massive 4-year, $110 million contract. He was the prize of free agency, but the football gods had other plans. In Week 5 of that season, he suffered a brutal Jones fracture in his left foot. Season over. Career in jeopardy, most teams would wait for a star to heal. But the Raiders did the unthinkable. They didn't just move on, they scorched the earth. They released a statement saying they had no clear path or plan for his return, and that the move was necessary for the organization to move forward. That is professional sports talk, for we are done with this guy. But it wasn't just the foot. If it were just an injury, you don't cut a guy on a mega deal that quickly. There are whispers from inside the locker room that would make your head spin. Rumor has it via the most plugged-in insiders in the industry that Wilkins' departure involved a bizarre interaction with a teammate involving an unwanted display of affection that went sideways fast. It sounds like a joke, but in a high-tension NFL locker room, that kind of boundary crossing can be a total deal-breaker. IT creates a rift that a coach can't fix with a playbook. The Raiders prioritize their culture over his talent, which leaves a massive red flag waving over his head. Who's to blame for this situation? The Raiders for giving up too soon, or Wilkins for the locker room drama? Drop a name and your reason below. The Browns are a team that prides themselves on due diligence. Remember when they signed Isaiah Bond? They didn't just take his word for it regarding his legal history. They allegedly used a polygraph test to ensure they were getting the truth. That is the level of intensity we are dealing with in Cleveland. If they're going to bring Wilkins into the fold, they need to know if that foot is actually stable and if his head is in the right place. You can't just throw millions at a guy because he has a highlight reel. You need a soldier who fits the mission. And let's be real about why they need him. When Malik Collins went down last year, the defense didn't just take a hit, it fell off a cliff. Early in the season, Cleveland had the undisputed #1 run defense in the league, giving up a measly 70 yards per game. It was a brick wall. But the moment the interior depth was tested, the numbers plummeted. They finished the year ranked 17th, giving up over 116 yards per game on the ground. That is a collapse. That is the difference between a deep playoff run and watching the games from the couch. They've tried to patch the hole by signing Kalia Davis, a massive human being whose sole job is to occupy space and stuff the run. He's a one-year flyer, a safe bet. But Wilkins is a game share. But the plot thickens because while everyone is staring at the defensive line, a massive update just dropped about the quarterback room and a familiar face who's suddenly back on the market. While the Wilkins rumors swirl, the Browns just made a quiet move that tells you everything about their strategy. They've officially brought back tight end Blake Whiteard. Now look, he wasn't tendered as a restricted free agent originally, which usually means the end of the road, but the front office circled back and locked him down on a new deal. This tight end room is becoming a crowded house. You've got the heavy hitters. You've got Jack Stoll as the designated brick wall for blocking. And now Whiteard is back in the mix with Sal Cannella and Brennan Bates. It's a survival of the fittest situation behind the starters. It shows the Browns aren't just looking for stars. They are obsessed with specialized depth. But the biggest shocker of the week is the return of the Pasternaut. The New England Patriots tried to trade Josh Dobbs, failed, and have now decided to cut him loose. He's a free agent, and the buzz connecting him back to Cleveland is deafening. Some analysts are calling it a no-brainer, but is it really? Dobbs had that magical stretch in 2023 where he looked like a miracle worker, but the stats over the last 4 years tell a much more grounded story. He's a veteran, mentor, and a guy who knows the system. With Deshaun Watson entering a high-stakes year and the future of the backup position up in the air, Dobbs represents a safety net. He's not going to win a starting job, but in a league where quarterbacks drop like flies, having a guy who can process a playbook in his sleep is worth its weight in gold. Wait until you see which legendary wide receiver was just spotted looking like his prime self at a recent event, sending the rumor mill into a total meltdown. If you thought the veteran market was dry, you haven't been paying attention to the whiteouts. A recent celebrity flag football event featured some names that should be on every GM's speed dial. DeAndre Hopkins was out there making one-handed snags like it was 2017. He's been all over social media, reminding the world that he's still one of the premier red zone threats in the game. Then you have the man himself, Odell Beckham Jr., the guy who practically invented the modern one-handed catch, was back at it, looking healthy, fluid, and explosive. The question on every Cleveland fan's mind is, a reunion possible? We know how it ended last time. It was messy, it was loud, and it felt final. But the faces have changed. The coaching staff and the quarterback situation are different. The word around the league is that OBJ feels 100% and wants to contribute to a contender. Hopkins is in a similar boat, a veteran mentor who can still produce thousand seasons just like he did in 2023. These guys are waiting for that sweet spot right before the draft to sign their deals. Cleveland is getting younger by the second, and adding a guy like Hopkins to mentor the kids could be the ultimate all-in move. But the list of available talent doesn't end there. We are talking about a free agent pool that still includes names like Stephon Diggs, Jan Jennings, and even the ageless Cal Campbell. There are Pro Bowlers just sitting by the phone. The Browns have needs at left tackle, too, and Taylor Decker is the name that won't go away. At 33, he's the perfect bridge player, a guy who can protect the blind side for a year or two while the young developmental tackles like Freeling or Lama get up to speed. The chessboard is set. The Browns have a choice. Play it safe with the guys they have, or make a splash that defines the 2026 season. Whether it's the high-risk, high-reward gamble on Christian Wilkins, a sentimental reunion with OBJ, or a steady veteran presence like Taylor Decker, the next few weeks are going to be a roller coaster. This roster is close, dangerously close, but one wrong move could sink the whole ship. I need to hear from you right now. If you had the GM's pen in your hand, which one of these superstars are you signing today? Is it Wilkins to bolster the line, Hopkins to fix the receiving core, or Decker to save the offensive line? Type your choice in the comments. Would you like me to break down the potential salary cap impact if the Browns actually try to sign both Christian Wilkins and a veteran wide receiver like DeAndre Hopkins?